Hey guys, let's talk about an officer in Wisconsin has a question about GPS monitoring of supervised people on probation, right? Supervised release. Okay, essentially these people, they're on supervised release. They have agreed to like 40-something terms of release. They're basically serving their jail time, out at their home and so forth. They sign this. They have the GPS monitor on them. They actually pay money to have this monitor. It says, by the way, that these guys can be charged up to $175 per week to be on this GPS monitoring program. Man, that's a lot of money. But regardless, so the question is, hey, we go into the house. We are conducting our warrantless Fourth Amendment waiver search. But what about the other people, right? What about the roommates and the parents and so forth? Well, it's a great question. The first thing that we know is that based on a couple Supreme Court cases called Sampson and Knight, right? Sampson and Knight are your go-to cases here. Basically, the Supreme Court has made it pretty darn clear that if a person is on supervised release, they do not really have much Fourth Amendment rights. They have some, but they don't have much Fourth Amendment rights. They're called Fourth Amendment waivers for a reason. And essentially, they can be searched without a warrant as long as you're complying with your state law, their agreement, and so forth. I mean, California is the epitome of this. California don't play, right? California does not play. If a person is on community supervision, pretty much any officer can search them as long as that's capricious, harassing, and arbitrary. In other words, it's done for a legitimate law enforcement rehabilitative purpose. Going back to here, though, what about the roommates? What about the parents? Well, they don't lose their rights. They don't lose their rights. So if you're going to search something in that residence and that item also belongs to somebody else, you have to make sure you articulate that the probationer has a common authority over that area, over that thing searched. Just because they live in their parents' house does not give you the authority to go into that parent's room and search their stuff when you do not have any reason to believe that the son, for example, has common authority. What is common authority? Common authority is like real access, right? Not just physical possibility of access, but they actually have a right of access in their own rights. That they have their own interest in that, right? That they share the room, they share the container, and so forth, because they own it. Joint access, joint control, and so forth. But you're like, but Anthony, hold on. If I have to articulate that, then they could be stashing stuff surreptitiously, I guess, in the parent's room. Hey, look, if you can't articulate common authority or some, that's part of their space, it is what it is. The way around it is to tell them to go find another place, I guess, right? If you don't like the circumstances, then maybe the answer is to revoke their probation, right? Let's give you an example. Let's say that the parents have a safe, and the safe is, in the garage, and there's no indication that the probationer has access to the safe. He says, I don't have access to it. That's their safe. The parents are like, that's our safe. He does not have any access to it. And you're like, all right, open it up. And they're like, we're not going to open it up. And, they're like, he has no access. And you say, hey, that's fine. But here's the deal. Here's the consequence. I'm revoking his probation because I don't want him to be in a situation where there could be guns in there and so forth. He can't be around firearms and so forth. So if you're not going to cooperate, then I guess he has to find a different place. I guess that's kind of like that's the solution here, unless you can articulate common authority. If you can, then maybe you can go get a warrant and so forth. But just think about that, right? Usually it's not an issue. Usually people want to play ball because they don't want the person to go back to jail and so forth and be violated. But I just want you to think about it. That's what the Constitution requires. Okay? All right. If you have anything else about this or anything else we teach here at Blue to Gold, go to bluetogold.com. If you like what we're doing here, like, subscribe, share with your friends, and until next time, my friends, stay safe.